Thank you for watching the Gourmet Club Live. Today's show is full-service coffee and teas for hotels, TAN, and back of the house, office buildings, you name it. They will clean it with amazing attention to details. Chefs and business owners know what it's like after the employees go home. Hasteway takes care of your facilities, and they also have exceptional customer service. That is very important to us. Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Are you interested in fulfilling a career in the culinary or pastry arts? Then you need an education partner that can help you reach the next level. Escoffier School of Culinary Arts can help you excel in the kitchen and beyond, with a balanced curriculum that focuses on the latest culinary skills and methods as well as business and operations. They also offer a flexible 100% online format perfect for working professionals, world-renowned reputation, personalized student support, professional chef instructors, lifetime career assistance, and federal grants and financial aid available to those who qualify. Contact the folks at Escoffier to learn more at escoffier.edu. Texas Beef Council. Last but not least, we have the Texas Beef Council. They have just come on board and we will share more information with you soon about them. But I will tell you one thing, we love them because they love chefs.
Welcome to the Gourmet Club Live. I'm your host, Chef Charles Carroll. What a great day, what a great show we have for you today. We are live streaming, which is, we'd just like to remind you, you can find us on YouTube and Facebook, so that's pretty exciting for us. And also, you can find all the rest of our podcast shows on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn, and also chefcharlescarroll.com. So we'd like to welcome you again into our show. And Christian, man, we could not be more excited today, to have Chef Kiran sitting with us in studio.
Houston legend.
Yes, yes.
Thank
Kiran,
you.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Chef.
Yeah, what do you think about all this? Is this kind of crazy or what?
Love it better than kitchens. It's more relaxed, beautiful lights.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know you're so busy. You got a big event this morning coming up, right?
Yes.
You have a lot of kids coming in.
Lots of kids. Alice in the Wonderland, Mad Hatter's Tea.
Oh, how neat is that? So you came here and you're super busy. But before we get started, I wanted to just go over, I want to share with our audience, because we're going to get into all kinds of things here. But I want to share with the audience some of the awards that you've been blessed to be a part of, right? So Best New Restaurant, Zagat 2006. Award of Excellence, Wine Spectator 2006 and 2017. Christian, we can talk about that, right? Chef of the Year nominee by My Table in 2010 and 2013. And after all that, you've participated with Michelle Obama in one of her events that she was doing. So congratulations on all those wonderful awards. Houston's been good to you.
Thank you. It has been.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think of any other place than Houston to be in.
Yeah, but it's come from a lot of hard work, right?
Lots of struggles, lots of hard work.
Yeah,
but the rewards are good.
So what I would like to talk about, let's go right back to the beginning. I mean, you're from India.
Yes.
And how do you make your way to Houston?
Well, I was 18. I got married to someone who was studying here. He was doing his master's in engineering from UFH. And I'm still married to my husband, Shiv, and we have 2 wonderful kids.
Oh, super.
And our son is in San Francisco, and my daughter is here. And she's getting married in October in your beautiful country club.
Yes, we're looking forward to a lot of pressure. A little pressure there, Christian, huh? Chef to cook for a chef, yeah. So 18 years old, and you moved from India.
Yes.
And that must have been a little scary.
It was. First, as a young girl, you get very excited about thought of getting married is exciting. Then thought of coming to a wonderland, which is America, was exciting when you are a young girl in India. You just think it's like being in heaven when you are going to be in America. Long impalas and big, you just see these shows what are not even the true picture. You know how when you see Indian movies, you think India is that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's either Hollywood or poverty, you know, or sorry, Bollywood or poverty.
Yeah.
But it's not. There is middle also. So when I was young, I would just think America is like walking on cloud, just having luxurious cars and living that life. And of course, as a young bride and a student, my husband was student when I came here, it was struggle. But
So when you got off that plane at 18, the scenery was a little different than you had been?
it was. I actually, as soon as I landed, I said, oh, it looks like India. And just because I was in New York that time, and it was crowded. And
Oh, it still does, though.
I know. I felt like, please, New Yorkers, don't judge me on that. But at that time, I literally thought, why did I even leave my parents, my family, and come to America? This literally looks like India and felt like India. But as soon as, you know, I felt a little bit more comfortable, we came back to Houston. And my husband was studying here. I started making friends, but I was still very, very homesick. And the way I came over, getting over the homesickness was I started my first job in a bank. And I think that just changed my life and my thinking about being in America, and I made America home.
Now, we've been friends a long time.
Yes.
So I know some of the stories. So I wanted to kind of go back. So your wedding, your marriage was arranged.
Of course.
So talk about that a little bit. So that's so interesting.
So, you know, in India, the concept of marrying someone is not just you fall in love and you get married. Is that man going to, especially for women, is that man going to provide you a comfortable home, a comfortable lifestyle? Is his family going to treat you with respect? Are they kind of similar in status? We are very status conscious in India. Or we want to marry our children in the same kind of environment where the children were grown up in. We just think that's one of the criterias for a young couple to kind of get adapted to each other would be if you are raised in a similar family background. You have similar education, similar kind of upbringing. So when my husband was coming from US, one of our common friends told my parents that there is a young man coming from America. He's studying engineering, about to graduate from there. Would you like to marry your daughter to him? And my parents, of course, said, yeah, we'd love to meet him. As soon as they met him, they said, oh, we arranged your wedding with this guy, and you're going to marry this guy.
Wow, wow.
And of course, it was scary at that time. I even choked thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Did they give you an option? I mean,
They
if
did,
you're
they
you're
did.
18, can you say, hey, can I wait 3 years?
yeah, I could have. But of course, you know, as I said, just leaving the college at that time, no more studying,
Yeah.
getting married, coming to America was such a great option.
Right.
So I said yes.
And you have brothers and sisters?
I
assume?
do. I do have 2 sisters and 1 brother.
So was there any jealousy from the sisters?
No,
Okay.
not really.
That's
They
good.
were happy for me. My older sister was already married,
Okay.
and my younger sister was not, and my brother was not at that time.
Okay.
Now, again, I'm privy to some other stories that we've shared in the past. I remember a story you were telling me that you would write all the time. You would write letters home because you were homesick.
I was. I'm surprised you still remember that.
and you were sitting by the pool because the Christian, the bank thing didn't happen by itself. So tell the story about
So, as you know, when I got married, we lived in medical center area in the apartment, and as soon as my husband would leave for work, I was so homesick, and of course he had to work and he had to bring in money, so I would go downstairs in the pool. I didn't know swimming at that time, so I would just, you know, in those days you didn't have telephone conversation with your parents or you couldn't call, so you had long letters to write.
Yeah.
So I would just sit and write, and one of my neighbors thought I was some kind of a writer. So, but I was always crying while writing because I was just homesick.
Yeah.
And I would, you know, tell my mom, my dad, my siblings, the lifestyle here, and not that my, you know, I was it's not like I didn't like this country or I didn't like Houston or I didn't like my husband. It was just so different.
Yeah.
Language is different and you miss your family.
Sure.
So what decade was this, if you don't mind? Just
I'm sorry?
if you don't mind me asking, what decade are we talking about?
Oh, 1973.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got married in December 72, so February 73 I came.
Okay.
Houston was not what Houston is today.
Right.
There was no Sharpstown Mall. It stopped before that. There was no Southwest Freeway, which went beyond 610, something closer by.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So this guy's in your apartment complex, sees you every day riding a nice pretty lady down by the pool, riding and crying, and he comes down.
And he comes down and he talks to me, but he brings me a little red transistor radio.
Okay.
And he said, oh, this will, while you're writing, you can keep listening to the music. I think this would make you happy. And, you know, I started telling him why I was crying. I was just writing to my parents. I was very, very homesick. And he said, you know what? I'm going to give you a little solution. I don't know if it's going to be or not, but I work in downtown. I work for Gulf Oil. And I have some friends who work for Texas Commerce Bank. Of course, it's called Chase now. And why don't I take you and you interview with them and see if you can find a job? And I said, oh my gosh, I have no skills to work. How am I going to get a job? He says, just go for an interview. I get so excited. I wear my Indian outfit to go for a bank interview. And in those days, banks were so conservative. It was like wearing
Pantsuit or something.
But of course you were always like wearing a blazer and a white shirt and a pants or a skirt, like three-piece suits with a bow tie, not Indian outfits. But I was just thinking, oh, it's going to be a formal, so let me wear nice clothes, Indian nice clothes, and I go for interview. But I really got my break at that time. I went for an interview and they said, do you know typing? I said, no. They said, do you know bookkeeping? No. He kept on asking me. He says, oh, do you know? And that's really, now I think about it, how dumb it was for not even knowing 10-key adding machine. He says, do you know 10-key by touch or by sight? I said, what do you mean by touch or sight? You have to see and you know, he's showing me and I just couldn't even understand that lingo, what he was using
Right, because they do it
time.
like this.
Yeah. And I said, no, I've never used this machine. He says, do you know filing? I said, no. He said, okay, we'll train you on everything. Why don't you come?
Wow.
You know, he gave me date and time, and I got so excited to come.
Yeah.
And I came, and that's history. And, you know, I was so excited. I started literally like a career from one building to another building. I worked in a trust department, so they had like very, I'm sure, confidential papers.
Documents, yeah.
So they would just tell me to take this to this building and take this to this building and do filing. Really, but I can assure you I'm the best filer in the world. You know, they taught me when you are filing like personal accounts, you use the last name.
Right.
And if it's Charles Carroll, you would file his file under Carroll.
Right.
But if it's River Oaks Country Club,
Business
you
name.
would do R. So I've never forgotten that. See? Now I know great filing system.
I might need you in my office.
I know,
Oh
it
my God!
was.
Don't get me started on that. That's a hazard zone there.
Yeah.
So you go right from so how is it that you got into cooking now? From you got a great start. Your husband's starting to become successful. He has a great job. How is it you find your first cooking job?
So you know, in banking, as I said, I was so homesick. So I would like to go and visit home back in India. So I would want to take 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off or 4 weeks off. But, you know, you can't dictate those terms.
Yeah.
So I thought being in your own business would be great. So the very first restaurant we opened after working in a bank was a barbecue restaurant.
Barbecue,
I
yeah.
saw the picture of the kebab place.
I think-
Yeah, so
yeah.
it was called Kebabicue. So because I wanted to bring some barbecue but some Indian twist because
There it is now,
that
Christian.
was my strength.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
great. It's a great sign.
That was 1977.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
so you bought that restaurant?
No,
No, you went to work there.
No, we started from scratch. We had $20,000 collected, 20,000, and $20,000 we took from the bank. In $40,000, we created that restaurant.
Okay, so
From
you
the
purchased it or
sign-
rented it? You rented the space, or
We rented a space.
Okay.
You know, in a shopping center, you
Okay.
still have to build everything.
Yeah.
You know, they give you a little allowance,
Yeah.
and that hasn't changed still
Yeah.
in a big building.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we made it our own. We just hired a
That's awesome.
small contractor, and he helped us. We designed the logo. We designed all the furniture. I still remember the best piece of equipment in the whole restaurant was this barbecue pit, which was built by somebody in Dallas, in Fort Worth. And they still do the best barbecue pits. They came in, and it was like a size of a room, this big,
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
racks, like a rotisserie, they built it.
Yeah.
So I learned my first barbecue recipe from a book which was $2.99. I still have that. It's called Sunset House Barbecue.
Oh, neat.
And I thought I was going to be a barbecue chef.
Now you hired a couple of people that knew a little bit about barbecue, right?
We did. There was a Damaris barbecue place in downtown. A really old person, old chef from there was our starting chef. And I learned a lot during the opening process. The day of the opening, chef, I think, got too tired. He had an extra drink. He didn't show up.
Oh my
First
God.
day.
First day, the opening day.
Unbelievable.
So I knew how to make potato salad and coleslaw, and I knew how to load the pit, but I didn't know proper slicing.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge, but I just knew to do it against the grain. So I started. It was under pressure that I learned that job.
Yeah.
And I think I can do a pretty good job in that now.
And so, how involved was your husband? Since he was very busy, so was it just
No,
you?
he was, because he was, so this was, of course, to bring income, but also it became kind of my hobby.
Your project, yeah,
It's
yeah.
my project,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do that. But my husband still kept on working. Till last year, he was working, and he's an engineer.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was all by myself.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now you told a story. Don't you know I remember all these stories?
When do you cook?
Well, so there was a time. Am I right that there was a time like I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah. So about 3 years on in this restaurant, and that's really a short span for a restaurant to be in just in 3 years. We became literally very, very successful. We got a lot of press, Indian vegetarian couple opening a Texas barbecue place,
Yeah.
the best barbecue. We got a lot of stars. It used to be Houston Post at that time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we used to have few engineering companies over there, and they would come. Actually, we were open at 11 o'clock. We would run out of all the barbecue by 1:30. We would close in between, open for dinner at 5, close by 8 o'clock. And I still remember I would make like 6 pecan pies, 6 apple pies, all myself. And these were gone during lunchtime.
Wow.
It was like almost like a cafeteria. You walked in, you saw those free boards you got from Coca-Cola company,
Yeah.
and you put the letters.
You stick them
Yeah.
in.
You stick in there.
Yeah.
Like while talking to you, I can just remember
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah, beer was 25 cents. Soda
I
was
remember
5
seeing a
cents.
sign that
Wow.
beer was
Yeah.
25 cents, right?
So-
Yeah. Look, there it is. There. See that, Christian? Barbecue,
Beer, yeah.
kebab, and beer for 25
I am
cents.
surprised I still had those pictures when you asked. So it was
I wish it was
really nice.
25 cents now, but so
Where
then-
was the location?
This was on Hillcraft and on the right side of the,
Westheimer?
yeah. No, sorry. Hillcraft and Southwest Freeway.
Got it. Okay.
Between Bel Air and Southwest Freeway on Hillcraft.
Okay.
Where all these tall engineering companies are now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you went from how long did you have that restaurant?
So 3 years, and I had my little one, my first one, Pooja.
Yeah.
She was born, and I wanted to be a full-time mother. There was this, I was juggling, within few months of her birth, I was just so torn between a mom and a chef,
Stressed out.
stressed out. So we sold that within few months of her birth. And I stayed home, then raising both the kids. Of course, I raised Pooja for 2 years. Then I had my son, Puni, and then when they both were in high school, this idea started coming to me that I want to do something. So having not like a college education, there was nothing I could do which would bring me satisfaction. The only talent I felt like or thing I was good at was cooking. I had developed that over the years by staying home, cooking for family and friends, and I felt very confident. And of course, friends like you would just come and say, oh, you need to be a chef. You need to open your own restaurant, and you just get excited about people telling you that.
Yeah.
But you don't know, it's not about just cooking. It's about managing. It becomes a business.
Yeah.
But you learn that skills. You know, you have ups and downs, but owning your own business, you know, is a struggle, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
But there was one day that 3 of your chefs didn't show up. Is that right? 3 of your cooks, employees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, in the beginning when I got the first restaurant, actually, I just thought like a lot of Indian immigrants do, like they invest money in a business and they think, oh, we're going to just make money out of that.
Sure.
Restaurants don't do that.
Right.
Restaurants, you have to work from a dishwasher to every other role. So one of good days, my 3 literally chefs, not I would say chefs, basically they were line cooks. They didn't show up. And it was Mother's Day, I remember that.
Oh my God.
And that was the first Mother's Day, actually, I wasn't doing the buffet. I said,
Oh boy.
I'm going to be like Chef Carol, who does this fancy sit-down dinners. And I wanted to do that. But when you do, you know, if it's a buffet, you can still make lot and you can, you know, keep putting out the
Yeah,
food.
sure.
But when it's a course luncheon, you have to have everybody on the line.
Yeah,
You can't even miss one single element of the line.
That's right.
So I decided I don't want to be in the front of the house. I want to be there. So I was juggling between the 3 stoves, but
Wow.
we made it happen. But that made me actually a stronger business person and a chef.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, when did the first Kiran's open, which was on Westheimer, right off from Westheimer, right?
2005.
2000.
That's near the train tracks, yeah?
Right, right,
near
right.
the railroad track. Yeah.
So, so take us through that process. Now, you had
I had after Kebabq,
I think we have a picture of that as
Ashiana
well.
on
Yeah.
Dairy Ashford and Briar Forest, and which was also right away a great success because of the great location.
Yeah.
We were in an energy corridor where people were more open to having Indian food. Because as you know, Indian food was not very popular many years back. People would think about Indian food as just spicy, hot curries. And it was truth because people who came from India were really not like people of cooking caliber or people of chef's category. People who came without education to this country, how do you make living?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the skill you may have, you can refine that and you become, you know, you open a food place. And in Houston, it was a little bit easier to open restaurants because of real estate. You know, you could walk in a shopping center and you can sign a lease and open a restaurant. But that was good in a way that people did get used to idea of Indian food, but opening too many of not good restaurants, not good food, it kind of had a hindrance for my opening. You know, like it was a struggle telling people Indian food could be fine dining place. Indian food is tasty. Indian food is not drowning in sauces.
So it wasn't. You had to educate the public a little bit.
I had to, and I'm still educating.
Yeah.
That process has not finished.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, people still shy away. People will, you know, my own guests, and I'm very fortunate. I have clientele for 21 years, 22 years. They are still coming. The kids who were babies, I'm doing their graduations. I'm doing their weddings. You know, and they would just bring their friends. They say, oh, it's not an Indian restaurant. She's doing fusion. She's not just typical Indian. And I would say, no, I'm authentic Indian. Don't call me fusion. But they had to drag their friends to our restaurant to tell us how good food was.
Oh my God! Every time I go there, it's packed, and the food is so amazing.
It's really unfortunate because of my really close friends and our guests who have become friends and a loyal clientele to us.
But the restaurant did become very successful.
It did.
Right, and you got some awards. And then how long was that open before someone bought that area and they tore that whole thing down?
Like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah. So we were open over there for 11 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that feel that day that I guess your lease would have expired?
My lease expired, but also I had signed some papers without knowing what I was signing, which was giving away 10 years of extension. So on the lease it said, oh, developer will, you have to move when the developer redevelops the property within 90 days. Oh, how easy it is to move a restaurant which was established for 11 years into a place for 90 days. I did scout around for a long time when I had this and notice that I had to move. It was not easy. Even making a decision to move to our present location where we are on Richmond and Kirby, it was not easy because I kept on thinking, why am I going from Westheimer to Richmond?
Right.
At that time, Richmond wasn't Westheimer.
Yeah, that's
now
right.
Richmond is new Westheimer. Everybody wants to be on Richmond, but at that time, it was hard for me.
Sure.
So I'll be paying 3 times more rent, but I'm moving from from Westheimer to Richmond. It was a hard decision.
Wow.
But we did make that decision, and I'm very happy that we moved on in this building. The business is literally 3 times than what we were on Westheimer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think there was anticipation too. I mean, because everyone knew you were moving, but it's like where? I think that was smart. I mean, like even though it wasn't a strategy.
Right.
There were people sitting. It's like, I wonder where she's going to open. So
that
there was a lot
help.
of.
Actually, it did. People would keep writing to me, when are you opening?
Yeah,
when are you opening? So that, and I did not stop cooking while we were closed for 10 months. I was doing all the charity events, and a lot of my chef friends, like David Cordua, Jack Fox from Artisans, they helped me. I cooked in their restaurant for all my charity events. So I stayed in.
Stay current. Yeah.
Stayed current.
Yeah. So during your time in Houston, as you're finding your way, who would you say had the biggest culinary influence on you as in our field, or inspired you?
So I would give credit, or I would think my mentors were Tony Vallone. Just because I feel like, not that I worked with him or worked closely with him, I felt like when I would hear Tony's, I would just think, how can an Italian restaurant, they are as foreigner in America as Indian people are.
Sure.
Why can't we create something like what he has created?
Yeah.
So it was constantly, and I remember even when I was young, I told him one time, I still call him Mr. Vallone. I cannot call him Tony. And he sees me and he says, you can't call him Mr. Vallone. And I would tell him, one day, if I open an Indian restaurant, and at that time I didn't have an Indian restaurant, and I said, I want to be Tony's of Indian food.
Wow.
And he still remembers that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because growing up in New York, even though there are a lot of Indian eateries, there aren't many that are really fancy at all. I mean, there was one like near the Midtown Tunnel that was one that people would go to for an event. But that was it, Nola Manhattan. Devi, maybe it was called. But I remember Dr. Ivana took me there like, 08 or 09. And I walked in, I was like, this is the schnazziest Indian restaurant I've ever been in, because the decor, but also the service was really polished.
So I did think food and service in a restaurant business has to be exactly at the same level. You can't make good food and not serve it proper. Sometimes I think people will forgive you for not 100% good food, but they will not forgive you for bad service. So every single day, every single shift, we talk about service.
Yeah.
We talk about service.
Now, you have an amazing guy helping you with wine as well. They're a great wine list over there,
We do.
award-winning wine list.
Yes. So a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Sharma, who's a neurologist,
Sure.
he's helped me for 21 years
Wow.
in this business for doing the wines. And now he's semi-retired from the restaurant.
Okay.
That was really a non-paid job. We have a young wine sommelier, Pep Cardinal, and he's been with us for 6 months.
Super, super.
He's doing a great job.
Now, what do you think over the last 20 years, 20, 25 years, has been your greatest lesson in this journey?
I think what it is you have to have a lot of passion for what you do. Otherwise, it can burn you out.
Yeah.
These long hours. And more than long hours, of course, we started with 3 employees in the first business. I was looking at the old pictures today.
Yeah.
And we have 72 employees right now.
Wow.
And managing them.
Yeah.
But managing them with love and strictness both, balancing that act. You know.
Like a mom and a family.
Yeah. And I literally am like a mom in the family. I'll get so upset when they do something wrong. But as soon as they come back, say sorry, or, redo what they didn't do right, you just feel for them. And I have employees who have been with us for 15 years, 18 years, 21 years, and they still work with us. And I just think you have to be eloquent in talking, and you have to be passionate, and you have to have consistency in your attitude and in your work.
Well, you've been successful, and to go from the barbecue to your first restaurant and being pushed out of there and finding your way and to rebuild your brand again. I mean, you've been really successful. So congratulations.
Thank you.
On all of that. We have, our recipe podcast. We have a lot of culinarians who listen to us. A lot of hospitality people listen to us. What would you think that you would like to share that maybe your recipe for success? What's been your biggest recipe, your most successful piece of advice?
So I'm glad you asked, because I've been asked this many, many times from young chefs. What I tell them, even when we have these culinary students who come to visit our kitchens or stage, they always say, oh, we want to open our own restaurant. And I tell them, it's a great dream. You should open your own restaurant. But I would tell you, work 10 good years in somebody else's kitchen in every job.
Sure.
You can, you don't have to, if you have, let's say, gone to a management school, don't think you want to be a manager right away.
Sure.
Start as a server, start as a host, and learn every aspect of the business before getting into it.
It's hard to gain respect if you don't, if you haven't done it.
But be prepared to spend all waking hours.
Yeah.
And it's not just the restaurant business. I think if you want to be successful, because I meet a lot of our friends who are in different fields, everybody has a very similar story. You have to dedicate all of yourself.
Maybe one last question. What do you, Houston is booming right now. And I used to say 5 years ago that it's the best kept culinary secret, because you got New York, you got Chicago and LA, you think about food. But now Houston's really on the map food-wise. What do you think about the food scene in Houston, where it is now and where it's going? Because there's so many places opening. I get nervous for them a little bit, and they open and close. What do you think?
So it's really nice that we have different cuisines and we are exposed to different cultures. There's nothing better than eating the food of the country you want to know about that country. So the culture is learned through the food.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think we have to be very careful, because when we say we are so excited about opening so many restaurants, Sometimes dilution can be bad too.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't have 3 Indian restaurants next to my restaurant. You can't have even 3 eating places in the same building. It will dilute. I think I have talked about this to other people. I feel like there should be some kind of control over how many miles city can allow the restaurants, how many restaurants per square foot. Because, we all get so excited about investing our lifetime saving into a business. And sometimes I see, very successful chefs whose restaurants are closing now. And it is not because it's bad food. It's just oversaturation.
It's like what you said before. You said 3 years was a short time, but nowadays 3 years, if your restaurant's open,
then people
that's
say,
a lot.
oh, you're successful.
You've made it,
But can you imagine putting your lifetime saving in a small business? And you have to close. We have a restaurant which opened right next to me, and I know how much it costs to make per square foot a restaurant. And they closed within 3 months.
Wow.
And it's beautiful restaurant. But I also feel, it's just too many restaurants.
Too many.
Next to each other.
Well, we want to thank you for. I know you're busy and you got a big party to go to and to get ready for. You got 100 kids coming over.
I wish I was going to Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, but we sure do appreciate you coming in and being with us today. So that pretty much wraps up another episode of the Gourmet Club Live. Well, a big thank you out to our sponsors, Dunkin' Coffee, Aceway Incorporated, Escoffier School of Culinary Arts, and the Texas Beef Council. We love you guys and thank you for trusting us. And remember, you can find us on the Recipe Podcast and Gourmet Club Live on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Of course, you can find everything on chefcharlescarroll.com and go there and buy my latest book, The Recipe. It's about to be, we're hopefully going to start shooting the movie next year, so we look forward to that. I told you about that, right, Karen? Oh. But again, thank you so much for being with us. You're awesome and sharing your life stories. And Christian, thank you for being here. I also thank you for the entire Recipe Podcast team for making all this happen. You guys are awesome. So thank you for watching the Gourmet Club Live, where you can find the hottest trends of Houston hospitality. I'm your host, Chef Charles Carroll. I wish you the very best. Remember, you're special, you're great. Make an impact on someone's life today. See you next time.
And I want you to be mine.